watching the movie. So that's what we try to encourage them to do. We really discourage very significantly coaching from the stands. I mean, I am just draconian about that. And gotten pretty rough on some parents who seem to have a struggle with it. And the easiest way to handle it is just put the kid on the bench if the parent can't seem to get it under control. And that usually cleans it up because the kid then will handle it with the parents. But the idea, because most parents actually are using the exact opposite language that we're trying to use. So it's really counterproductive, right? They don't spend time in practice with us. They don't understand, they don't study the idea of how to communicate when you're doing something right. It's always about being positive, telling kids or anyone what you want them to do, not what you not want, because the parents will say stuff like, stay off the highway, as an example, right? And that's exactly opposite thing you want to say, right? They'll say you have to do this, you have to do that. You don't have to do anything. Nothing out there is life and death, right? So the language they use is counterproductive on a regular basis. And so, it'd be great if they just be quiet because they're not helping. So making sure that we set expectations properly and then hold them to that standard is critical. You've got to hold them to the standard of, not coaching from the stands, supporting all the kids, being positive. We have coaches or parent meetings, and one of the things I tell the parents is if you sit in the stands and listen to some parents moan and groan and don't do anything about it, you're as guilty as that parent, right? You're tacitly supporting their negative behavior. So if they're going to moan about something that's going on, you should tell them, hey, that's not how we do it here. Go talk to the coach. And that squishes that stuff very quickly. But if you get everyone to buy in, it's a pretty good deal. The challenge is getting everyone to buy in. Now, if you get people into the organization early, it helps because then you can vet those things and you can help train parents and players early. And coaches, for that matter. You have to train coaches as well. So,
Kevin,
it's important. Set expectations. That's the critical
those are some great points, and it kind of ties back into team chemistry. From season to season, your teams, your rosters may change. For the coaches out there, is there any advice you give them on how to find that right chemistry? Maybe not the most talented player at every position, but the right chemistry usually makes a difference in the win columns.
Yeah, it's actually very important. There's no magic there either, of course, but it's very important. Teams that don't particularly care for one another, especially females, are going to have a very difficult time being successful on the field. They've got to find a way to care about one another. And as crazy as it sounds, what I've learned over time is that, and you see it when we bring players out to try out or a new player to the team, the players embrace other really good players that play at the same level they play and have the same level of expectations for excellence that they have. They do not really accept players onto the team that they don't feel like have that same level of commitment and capability. And so it's important when we bring people onto teams that we bring on people who are of similar level of capability and potential. So otherwise they won't be accepted by the players on the team, and then hence not accepted by the parents. Right? But if you have a team and you bring on a really good player, most times that usually works out as long as their attitude is appropriate. Right? It's not about them; it's about the team and how together their skills can complement the team. Right? And we have a couple different mantras, and one of the important ones is positive, humble team. And if anything we do does not fit into that window, then we know we're doing the wrong thing. Right? If it's not positive, if it's not humble, and if it's not about the squad, then it's probably not something we ought to be doing. But chemistry is really gotten by making sure you put the right players with the right kids, which is about capability.
And you mentioned the kids. Sometimes you feel like a good player will attract more potential out of another player on your team than even you or one of your assistant coaches could do?
Well, absolutely. Again, that competitive environment is the most important factor for driving kids' level of success. When they know they have to battle against someone else for their spot, they're motivated. I mean, it's not any different than any other walk of life. I mean, I tell our coaches all the time, if the kid can say, I'm the shortstop on that team, I don't think we're doing our job. We've got to make it so that kid says, I got to play shortstop then, but I may not be the shortstop the next time. Right? If I don't continue to improve, that kid's going to take the spot of shortstop. Right? That's what we need. Right? I mean, that's the level of dedication and seriousness that we need from kids. And again, it's not about softball. Softball's interesting, but it's about when they get out in the world, right? That that they know they have to keep that. I mean, if you go out in the world with a level of discipline and willing to work hard, you're ahead of the game because most people aren't.
Hey, Kevin, growing up, I played Little League Baseball, which they don't have a lot of that here in Texas, but it was ages 9 through 12. You knew you were on the same team for 4 years. You developed as a 9 and 10-year-old. You played games against 9 and 10-year-olds. Nowadays, especially here in North Texas, and I assume it's other parts of the country in travel baseball, and I want to ask you about travel softball. One of my pet peeves is roster jumping, team jumping, kid and a parent going from one team to the other. Do you see much of that in softball?
Sure, it's very prevalent. Probably like every sport, right? Soccer, volleyball. I'm sure they have similar situations where those kind of things don't necessarily bother me. I don't want anyone to stay where it's not a good fit for them, and the issue really comes down ultimately to character and why are you playing, right? What is the reason that you're involved? If it's, because I think, if there's a million reasons that people hop around from team to team, and those in the end, I don't necessarily care if someone leaves our team. If they're unhappy with what we're doing, I would encourage them to leave. If they have a better situation, for their kids, I would encourage them to leave. I don't know why anyone would tell someone to stay someplace if they know of a better situation for a kid. That's clearly not about the kid. But the team hopping really typically ends up reflecting on the person, the team, the player that's doing the hopping, right? That says that I can't fit in, I don't fit in, I haven't found what I liked, or I keep making bad choices about who I'm joining. So for me, the team hopping is a nice red flag for there might be something here that isn't right. Now, we have had plenty of good luck, in my mind, rehabilitating folks who other people told us they would never settle down, they would always team hop, they'll never be happy. I think again, it may just be about setting expectations on the front end. Putting players in a challenging position that somehow changes the game. I don't know. But no one likes the team hoppers because, all we're really looking for is people we can count on. And someone you can't count on seems to be team hoppers, is not someone you're going to be happy to have around. So it's not productive for the sport. But more importantly, it's not productive for the player who keeps hopping around. They just never create any consistency, never make those connections that are kind of what, sports are about, right? Team play, hard work. You can create long-lasting friendships and, get in the trenches and, battle it out. I think one of the challenges is, and I tell our parents, if you're coming here just to get what Glory can do for you, well, you're in the wrong place because I want you to get in and help make Glory great, right? Get both feet in and help it be great, make it better than it was when you got there. And that's sometimes a little bit of a foreign concept. There are a lot of people, I can tell, they haven't thought about it in those terms. They're thinking about what's in it for them. And I'm saying don't think about what's in it for you. Think about how you can make the whole thing better. And then we all win.
Kevin, that gets to that pursuit of perfection that I know you strive for and you instill in your student athletes and your other coaches. And we know that's not always easy to do, especially when you get what is your average roster size? How many girls would you have on a team?
Yeah, it's a good question. It depends on the age of the kids. The younger the kids, typically the smaller the roster. But the older the kids, the bigger the roster. I probably have one of our smallest 18 and under rosters right now, and I have two rosters of 16 each, and those are small rosters. If you go north to Oklahoma, they typically have very small rosters, 11, 12 kids. And that doesn't mean they aren't good. They're good. But I think it takes away that competitive environment that could help them be even better. That sort of is easy to manage a squad with only 11 kids. A roster's easy, but I don't know how you survive that way. With all the different things that go on and injuries. So, but our 10 and under squads are going to have 11 and 12 kids, and then it gets bigger and bigger. We do have a 12 and under squad with 16 players on it. Maybe it's 15, but it's handled well by a veteran coach who knows exactly what he's doing, and every kid gets lots of development opportunities. And the proof is in the pudding. If the kids stay, and the team is able to handle a roster that big, clearly something's going right. If we can't manage it well, it won't stay that big very long.
And there's always that challenge of playing time. You see it at any level. If they're in the the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th spot, getting some relief efforts on the mound or playing a little bit of right field. There's always that not only a disgruntled player, but more so a disgruntled parent. So how would you tell our other coaches out there to handle that disgruntled parent when it's only, say, a 10, 11-year-old kid on the roster?
Well, I would say first I would address the premise, right, in that if you have that many kids, no matter how many kids you have on your roster, they all should be getting opportunities to succeed and fail in tough spots and important spots. So the first important thing to do is make sure that they're all getting, especially when they're that young, that when you're in, most games are not meaningful. They're, some local tournament, here in Dallas, it doesn't mean anything. And so the challenge is that people, they either want to be able to brag to their friends that their kids' team won games or something, but their focus is wrong. Their focus should be on development. And if you don't win the local Yahoo event here in North Texas in April, you shouldn't worry about that because it's absolutely unimportant. And I've been called a loser before because I told people that. And I said, well, if you think our history is that of losers, then I guess then we're losers. Right? But the first thing is the focus should be completely about development. So if you have 12 kids on your roster, you got to work hard to develop all 12. If you have 15, everybody has to have opportunities when it matters most. And that eliminates that problem of I'm not getting playing time. Right? If we have kids on the team, we should play them. And if we're not willing to do that, then we're managing it incorrectly. And I think that's why we're able to sustain larger rosters than others, because we are dedicated to that principle that the best player sits just as much as the worst player sits. There are different times of year and different tournaments where you do that differently, but you set those expectations early so everyone understands, right? So a great example is our 16 and under, our best 16 and under teams. They'll play lots of big events all the way up to nationals, and everybody plays the same amount, through all those events, regardless of whether it's pool play or bracket play, until you get to nationals. And at nationals, by then, it's super clear who the best players are because everyone's had an opportunity to play. Everyone's had an opportunity to demonstrate their skills. And so now we're at nationals, and it's clear who the best players are, and then those players are playing when it's time to win the big events. So I think that's how we do it in a way that keeps people who can understand on board. I'm not saying we don't have our challenges. We do. But in general, I think we've done an excellent job, and our history would say that, an excellent job of managing that. I mean, we have over 100 players in college right now, which means we're averaging well over 25 players a year in college. So, and that comes not from a lot of teams, but from big rosters.
Well, Kevin, that's a great segue. I was looking earlier, and it looks like just for 2018 alone, the seniors that are play for Texas Glory that are in high school right now, you have, it looks like 66 college commitments from your 2018 class. Does that sound right?